Okay, guys, moving on to paper 3. Paper 3's comments in paper 3 for issue evaluation section, so working backwards in the paper here. There's always a synoptic element to this part of the examination. This means that although the issue may be driven by a particular part of the course, it will touch on elements from across the specification and is worth identifying these when preparing for the examination. So again, sounds like I'm teaching people to suck eggs here, but obviously going through what the report told me. There's a high proportion of AO3 marks within this section of the examination paper, and as such, the expectation is that students will select appropriate evidence from the resources in order to develop a discussion and in some cases reach a judgment. There's a distinction between simply selecting and copying information, which is generally seen as level 1, and actually using the selected information as evidence to support ideas. Those students who develop points and then support those points by quoting specific evidence generally produce responses at level 2 and level 3. The fieldwork comments, unseen fieldwork, general observations. The unseen fieldwork part of the examination is made up of a number of scenarios where the stem of the question outlines an investigation or identifies a hypothesis to be tested. I won't read through all this because you all teach it. Familiar fieldwork questions are designed to give students the opportunity to express understanding of the individual inquiry work they have personally carried out. And obviously we'll move on to questions now. So paper 3, you can see again both national average for our students, and females perform better than males in this paper. On the numeracy section, complete the graph below using the following data. A significant proportion of students did not attempt all, some, or all the questions where completing a type of graph was needed. The questions appeared to present few difficulties for those students who did attempt it, with the vast majority gaining the mark. Again, for our students, 100% of weighted students answered correctly. This is above national average as well. Question 1.3, complete the following table by calculating the total spending for an average cruise ship visit. This question presented a few problems, and most students were able to calculate the total spending accurately. In some cases, a lot of written calculation was evident, suggesting that some students may not have had a calculator, which is obviously in the paper 2 as well, which is allowed in this examination. 93.5% of students answered correctly. There's always been maths-based questions across the examination paper, so it's important that students are properly equipped to deal with them. 1.1, in 2018, which world region had the largest number of international tourist arrivals? Half of the students selected the correct answer, with virtually all those who selected the incorrect answer choosing Africa. 64% of students in the Way Deacon were able to answer this question. We had some dialogue, didn't we, with this after the paper came out, about how to answer that question?
It went with the cumulative score rather than the actual average, highest average.
We're trying to make sure we've got one of those graphs. Make sure we use some of those graphs, haven't we? We show those kind of things. We do, don't we, though? We do it all the way through, right the way down to year 7 or 8, I'm sure.
Complete isoline map for 16 degrees Celsius on figure 5, and then which of the following would be an appropriate alternative way of presenting the data shown in figure 5? Xyline map, dot map, flow line map, or proportional symbol map?
So for that first one was shockingly answered. People just wrote 16 anywhere they liked and give it a dot, rather than actually joining the line. And when they joined the line, then they didn't really know that it was supposed to, where it was supposed to.
Do you want to show us on the screen?
Can we do that?
I can do that.
Do you want to show us on the screen with the pen?
I will.
Come on.
But, yeah.
Do we know how to do it?
I'd never seen a question like that before.
Yeah. So I on our field work this year, I spent hours and hours creating an isoline map of pedestrian numbers in Liverpool.
Yeah.
And left a little bit out for them to complete. And then I did it, and I tried to get them to do it, and none of them could do it. And I was just like, that's a waste of time because they physically could. It's so difficult for them to do. Just made me wonder if we could do it. Do you want to have a go at drawing it on?
So you've just got to make sure that the 16s are to the right side of the line and the 15s to the left side of the line.
Yeah, okay.
So it would be something like
And if you did that like you, would
That
you
would have
get the
been the
mark?
marks, yeah.
So they weren't fussed about how
How
close it was.
No, it wasn't about how close it was. It was just making sure that the 16 was to the right, 15 was to the left.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Nice.
So what, which 4.6, we saying the Xyline map?
No one got this right. So
Yeah.
when I was marking it, not one.
So what does it show? It shows the temperature in that one, and it's saying what other method could you use to show the temperature on the map? Desire line, no. Dot map, no. Flow proportional symbol, presumably.
Yeah.
As in
No
the
one.
size of it would be
Yeah.
the bigger the size, the bigger the
Well,
temperature.
You can tell that the ones who got it right was done like that, a process
Yeah.
of elimination, rather than going straight for that answer.
I mean, we use proportional symbols, don't we, in our field work?
Yeah, the rivers one.
Yeah. Come on in. Do you want to jump in on that? Yeah, don't worry about it. Sorry.
So,
We'll be
Mr.
more
Maybe
relaxed
just take
about it.
over from this point.
I'm gonna get that.
Just keep pressing the next button.
Just press
Fine.
Oh, just press that. Okay, you've talked through this then.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about that yet.
Okay, application of knowledge questions. So on average, we perform quite well. Apart from these two questions which I wanted to focus on.
Right.
So the first one was question 3, which is the question that we can predict. And our kids did broadly in line with the national average, whereas most questions were above. Yeah,
So we didn't do well on this question.
is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think broadly they didn't do well. You marked this as well, didn't
So
you?
I
Lauren?
marked 500 papers, and did 1 and 9.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
So it's
one.
it's probably more the case that all kids did about that.
It's really difficult to get 9.
Yeah.
Unless you bring in stuff that you've learned from other things. So, like for this one, people were talking about Jamaica because that was their
Yeah.
tourism case study. They were developing the points like really far.
Yeah.
And only if you did that, you would get a 9.
Yeah.
Because too many people just copied things from that resource.
Exactly.
But really, it was the fewer bits from the less is more. Is what I'm trying to say.
Do you think next year, when we get the resource through and we spot the big question, we should teach something that's not on there?
Link to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it worth saying, right, well,
Or linking to making the link for them for our previous topics.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
not something brand new,
yeah. So
but
it's
saying
about-
we know about tourism
it's
from
about rainforests.
exactly. Yeah.
As part of these ones, you go back to your rainforest deforestation or
Yeah.
management thing.
Yeah. You go. Well,
right,
we
you
look
need
at
to know
Malaysia.
this.
Yeah.
And you put it in
For-
your
for-
answer. Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
useful to know, isn't it?
And basically, what you've just said, Laura, there mirrors exactly what the examiners put. So I've highlighted it there at the bottom. They've got to link synoptically with other parts of the specification to be able to get the high grades. And then lots of people just copied. Level 1 answers tend to be characterised students who simply identified and largely copied information from the resource. So most people got level 2.
And I'd say, like, for this paper, this section, for all the long mark questions, you could have wrote the same answer for all
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
And loads did.
Yeah.
And they would all get that band 1 because they were talking about jobs and money.
Yeah.
And then they might broadly mention multiplier effect.
Yeah.
And it was the same answer for all 3, so it made it quite
Yeah.
repetitive.
Yeah, you could tell that students had practiced this question.
Yeah.
Without synoptic links. So probably got 4, 5, 6 on this. And then copied chunks of it to their other questions.
On my feedback to they asked for feedback to the exams, I like but the structured exam. I was like, just scrap paper 3, integrate field work into paper 1 and 2, and issue evaluation of 32. I get that 3 papers.
I think if the topic is wider, like a physical topic, generally, you've got more stuff to ask, but the questions just brought them back to the same answer, and it just didn't help.
Yeah, I don't like
And
the questions. but-
even the clever kids were stung by that because they were like, well, this is just money again,
Yeah,
jobs
yeah,
again,
yeah,
and
yeah.
they were going back to it. But the ones who got those higher marks thought wider than that.
And then the other one in this section was 5.3, which was poorly answered. by everybody, including us. Obviously, we did better than national average, but loads of people, and I don't know if you were the same, well, you would have been, didn't answer the question that was in front of them. It said, assess data presentation techniques, physical geography inquiry. You just got people going, in our physical geography inquiry, we did, and just listed it.
How
Zero
do
marks.
you make the difference between presentation techniques and methods more explicit?
Presentation, the drawing of something, graphs.
Yeah.
Collection, anything you did on the day.
I've put there, we have to bug along answer questions, because maybe it's people just glancing at the question. It's physical geography inquiry, the physical bits in bold. I didn't have many, don't know about you, that wrote about human on this bit. They were pretty good with sticking to physical, which previously has been a problem.
Some practical examples as well, collecting, actually collecting things in and putting on the board.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think they had much to say about data presentation techniques though, did
Not
they?
for a
Even,
6
like,
mark, no.
What is
No.
good about a bar chart, what is bad about a bar
Yeah.
chart, it's very limited. And then with that, there's limited development of that point as well. But I think what they're looking for is your data presentation technique was poor. Why? Because it didn't use exact values. This meant that it didn't show me how many people exactly were here for my...
Like level 3 linking back to effectiveness, whatever.
Yeah. And you really had to do that.
Maths department, really, but the way they make bar chart, presenting, teaching to quota ranges, discuss, did they do that in maths, to discuss the limitations of bar
No.
charts?
It's totally different. Quite a unique thing, I think, geography.
Yeah.
That's what makes it hard. Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the next section was demonstrate geographical understanding questions. Once again, we did quite well, but the gap wasn't as wide on this section. Question 2.4 and 2.5 I wanted to focus on. So this one was quite poorly answered for a 4 marker. Only about half marks. Explain how physical and cultural factors are important in attracting visitors to the Cayman Islands. This was the one where people didn't focus on physical and cultural factors. They just found bits of the resource book and just wrote some stuff in. So a lot of kids got 1, maybe 2 marks. It's an explain question for 4 marks, 1 for physical, 1 for cultural. It's about teaching the exam technique, isn't it? Because that should be straightforward for our kids, that we can see
If they know what a cultural factor is.
if they know what a cultural factor is. Yeah, that's what I put there. Can our students tell the difference between cultural and physical? And then a similar type question, multi-use. So that one had the word cultural that might have thrown kids, and then multi-use, which might have thrown kids. Generally not very well answered for a very easy question.
And you're right, they did just copy the booklet.
Yeah.
It said improving social and economic opportunities and improvement of the waterfront area, which was 1 mark.
Yeah.
So a lot did get 1 for copying that, but couldn't go further.
And our exam mark schemes literally had that in and said maximum 1 mark because so many kids were doing it. Again, it's an explain question. I think you've added this in, have you?
Yeah, we've seen that.
Seen that already? I think that's it for me.
Right, done. All right. Thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate it.
If I press stop there, yeah?
Yes. No, go to I'll just press stop.
I've got this keeper.